Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, apparently my internet disconnected, and I don't know what happened. Sometimes I like to think it's me, but I think what it really is that Xfinity doesn't ever consider that some people like to wake up this early in the morning, and so when they have the internet shut out, they're just like, oh yeah, why'd anybody care if the internet shuts out at this time? Boo-hoo to LuckyJene. So, yeah, I rebooted my computer. It turns out it wasn't my computer, it was the internet itself. But hopefully, we'll be good from this point on. Appreciate everybody who still hung around, though. I appreciate you. No, you didn't lose me. Can't lose me forever. It was really funny, though, because I look over and I see, like, oh, there's more messages in the, on OBS than there is in my chat overlay. What's going on? And then I look back over and I'm like, oh, there's nothing going on in OBS. What's going on? Then I look down and I see that there's no internet connection. And I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. So yeah, here we are. Does anybody remember what I was talking about? If not, I'm gonna go. I mean, feel free to go to bed and listen to me sleep. But I was also gonna talk about my favorite mod of all time, The Long War. So I guess that's the question. Do we want to talk about XCOM, my favorite mod through XCOM, or do we want to talk about Big Jim? There we go. Perfect. Well, I missed you too. You must know more about what? How big is Big Jim? I don't know, actually. Like, so far in this game, he's just been there, you know? I'm such a good donkey. Yes, XCOM is the game I recommended 2 months ago. Jim is completely Jim. So XCOM is a tactical shooter game, you know. But an RTS, not RTS, turn-based. And in the game, you play a commander.
Straight from jail. How do I sign up for the revolution?
You play a commander, commanding soldiers to fight in battle.
Have to put it all back.
Dude talks so much. Okay. Anyways, so there's... my brain is gone now. What was I saying? Alright, you're a commander. And you, command these soldiers, and if a soldier dies, they're gone forever. Which is one reason why I like the game. But there's a group that made a mod called The Long War. And so it takes all of that game and makes it like 3 times as long, adding new mechanics, new characters, new everything. And it was made for free. Wow. Here comes my gripe. You ready for this? So, not only did they talked to the people who made The Long War when they made the second game, because it kind of like revitalized the first game.
Things and run away. Had the whole escape plan.
Yes, it is sci-fi themed.
On top of that, they wanted to steal my stuff. What cowards.
There you go, sir. Let me turn down the game. I apologize, I was so loud I didn't realize it reset my audio. One second. So, hello, welcome back. Mm-hmm. My brain just shut off. Alright, is game volume good now, by the way? I hope it's fine. Okay, good. I just turned it down. So, right, Long War mod. So, Long War mod was made by this group, and when they made the second game, they worked with the Long War people, and they released the game, and Long War released a mod immediately for it. The problem was, first off, the Long War mod was released for the full completed game at the time. And then that studio was like, we want to make our own game and not do mods anymore. Well, the reason why the Long War mod was so cool was that it was a total... I am so sorry, I forgot the notification sound automatically reset when I refreshed OBS. No, you're fine. Thank you for the bits. Thank you. I really appreciate it. That is on me. I've had to restart everything, and so unfortunately, it reset all of my settings. Rough. No. Nice try. Nice try. I almost... Oh, you sneaky. You absolute sneak. Okay, wakey wakey. Come on, get up now. You've got a big day ahead of you. You can do it. Thank you for the redeem, Yoshihiko. Okay, we're gonna try to talk about the Long War mod once again, because I keep forgetting. Where were we? Right, okay, so, what's cool about the Long War mod is that it was made like a total conversion of the game. Well, they released it with the start of the game, and then the game devs of XCOM released War of the Chosen, which was a really, really cool DLC, don't get me wrong. But it was so big that a lot of the mods didn't work anymore. So on top of that, now the Long War was kind of pointless. And they never released a new Long War to update for the thing. So I'm still annoyed by that. Did that have any purpose for me talking about that? No, I just really like the Long War mod. And that game, I kind of want to go back and play the original Long War. Thank you for the follow. Greatly appreciate it, as always. And welcome to the menagerie. Thank you for the follow, Astrocat. Welcome to the menagerie. If I could make a medicine that'd make people more fun and kind and happy in their skin, I'd be acetaminophen, acetaminophen. Actually, I gotta look the song up real quick. Give me a second. If I could make a medicine that would make people more patient. Funny and kind and happy in their skin. Anyways, I can actually find it. I love survival games. Give me a fun fact, Vanya. Who made a duet? Wait a second. It's the black guy. Oh, I didn't know he did a duet. I love that guy. That's the plant guy again. Oh, yeah, I think he's in every map, actually. He just, like, keeps going around and growing his plants everywhere. If I could make a medicine that make people more patient, funny, kind, and happy in the skin, I'd name it acetaminophen. Acetaminophen. Really? Is it chill? I've seen somebody else play it. As long as I can make it chill but difficult, I might try it out. I've heard good things about it. Good luck with the wings, I believe in you. How's your dog flu today, by the way? Better, but not fully cured. Still gotta go to work, though. Unfortunately. The game wouldn't let me leave. It's actually dog foo. It's my kung fu. I've been working on it for a while now. Would you have specifics? Black socks. I always wear black socks. I always wear black socks. Always. Oh, gun. Alright, you know what? I'll give you all one last glance at the voidlings, okay? Here's one last glance at the voidlings. There they are. 5, 4, 3, 2. You know what? I'll show you one more thing, okay? So along the bottom of this image, you ready to look at the bottom? Here are sketched versions of what they look like in animal forms, why it's called a menagerie. But you see that was a sketch version of it, but you'll see that they'll have different ears. Do y'all want a little bit of the, it would probably have like little bat wings on its back. But possibly. Honestly, I hadn't thought about a bat one. But you could totally go with a bat one. I wouldn't mind it, actually. Oh, so when I do the fundraiser, we're going to do a style guide. A style guide's currently being worked on. The style guide will definitely drop before the model itself. And for those of you wondering about that, this is going to be your one look at it. Are you ready? You ready for this? Here's a SketchUp of the new model version. 5, 4, 3, 2. Wait. And whoop. There you go. So there will be a 3D version. There will be a 2D version, and they'll be used for different situations. Oh, he would trip over himself. Actually, one of the things I plan on dropping is audio logs, and one of the first things he does is trip over himself. I won't have a shirtless version of the model. That's what I meant. I don't want to be Remember though, these images need to be kept private. That they need to not be dropped anywhere publicly until we are done with the release. That way we can have, because I'm trusting all of you right now as an early look. Do you understand? Good. Because we're going to do a controlled release of it later on. That way we can get hype going for it and not just, pump everything out at once. Yes, there's actually a reason I keep you in a cage. Because I need to hit an average of 75 viewers to hit partner. And to grow my status as a villain. And so it's easier for me just to keep all the viewers stuck here forever instead of, letting y'all go home or leave. It's for my growth. Darza being the full allegations. Yeah. And eventually, y'all are little void links that I can use. Dar doesn't want to beat the foot allegations, that's fair. One of my goals has become big enough that Dar wants to use my feet in his game show. Speaking of, if you haven't seen Dar's game show, go check out Dar. Can we give Dar a little shout out? Dar does a Jeopardy style game show that's really, really fun called Quack. You should go check it out. That's true, Roma. Romra. Honestly, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe that's why I keep you here. What's the follow amount? Wait. What is the size? What size do I need to be? Is it when I get my G-Sub sponsor?
That looks like a serious injury.
Yes, there is black hair. Okay, this will be the last thing I'll show you real quick. You ready? Five, 4, 3, 2. So, we'll give you a little understanding really quick of the hand thing. So, there's going to be a whole new world that Gina's in. A world of villains and heroes. And in this world, if enough people have a perception of you, you can gain a hero's power or a villain's power. And these powers can be something really dumb, and they come from emotion. So, one such power could be the anger you get when dealing with traffic. So one person would embody that anger, and you get a power based around traffic, basically. The more simple the concept, let's say wrath, joy, the stronger usually the associated power is, because the more perception there is about that power. One second. Oh. So, Gene, due to a trauma that occurred in his earlier life, wants to be a villain, wants freedom. And so, The little black hands and the voidlings are all part of that. Oh, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. The fear of the dark is very strong, but fear itself is stronger. So the more like there's a thought about something, the stronger it is. And Gene is luck, the concept of luck, both good and bad. But there's a lot more into it than that. And the longer you have a power and the stronger you grow in it, the more you physically change, to the point that people will even like become demonic looking or angelic looking, depending on how they're perceived. See, good question, Catherine. Guess what? You'll have to wait and see. And the voidlings. The voidlings come in 4 flavors: hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs. And they too can get powers. And they evolve and grow until they are humanoid looking. You'll see a Sona guide and how to do powers and how voidlings advance. There's going to be a whole list of things. I hope you're all ready for it. What flavor as in how what they taste like? Or what flavor as in like what they can do? I mean, they will go. This is going to be like crazy. I have a whole book and comic and everything planned for it. Audio logs, animations. Long-term goal, webcomic, and even then. Oh, so the voidlings themselves. We're still coming up with the exact guide for the voidlings on what the difference is between the 4 flavors. But, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. But each of them will have a symbol on them. They'll have either the heart, the spade, the club, or the diamond. There are 2 of each. 2 that are the black color, 2 that are the white color. And again, as they grow and advance, they start at 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When they hit Jack, they start gaining more of their own intelligence. Queen, King is the highest they go. Nope, these ones link to traditional. Well, these ones link to traditional card suites, not tarot cards. That's why the colors are red and black. It's because they relate to cards. Oh, and the ace is a secret. Ace is a secret. Ace is the big change. Ace is where they become something more. Alright, I think I need to go back up. I need to find the last of the cards and then we can start cleaning. There's going to be so much stuff to clean in here. Enjoy. I believe club is cups. So it's cups wands, pentacle, I guess pentacle or coin, sword, and is that it? Oh, yeah, because I showed off my toes earlier. Coins are probably diamonds if I were to think, or maybe diamonds or wands. Yeah. Now, don't worry, there is actually the tarot deck, so we'll go over this really quick. Jean's power relates to a tarot deck, but also relates to something else. And so it's a tarot deck with a bunch of cards that shouldn't be in it. And some of the cards in the tarot deck are straight up playing cards. I think I think this is the highest we go, right? Or does that go even higher? Okay, there it does look like there's one section above. How do I go higher up? Oh, that's what we're gonna need. We're gonna need to pull that up. Okay, I guess we can start cleaning in here. Oh, and it is going to be fun. But
Time for a bag swap.
oh, I'm most definitely the fool. Remember, all of this won't really happen, though, if we don't ever get to the point where we can do a fundraiser and we raise enough money to get to there. Because once we get to the fundraiser, we'll drop little bits of lore. We'll start dropping some more creative things and some style guides. But it will probably take about 6 months for the model to be completed. So at that point, when we drop the model in its entirety, that's when all the big lore stuff is going to happen. That I'm excited for.
First. Textbook safety violation.
There it is.
Can't pick up anything with a full bag.
I should try cleaning like this. Imagine walking around with a trash can like this. Just shoving things in there. I wonder if it'd make cleaning easier. Oh, and one last thing. I'll just give you a little hint here. So, villains and heroes are based on the perception of, I think it's around 12 or 14 traits. Luck is the exception, because luck has good perceptions and bad perceptions with both bad luck and good luck. So what does that say about Jean? But also that means we're going to commit crimes as Jean. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yay, crime.
One more to the collection.
It's going to be adorable. Oh, thank you for the stretch. Oh, that felt good. Oh, I needed that. Thank you. I think what's going to be really funny, though, is I'm going to try to get a 3D voidling made that I can throw around as a prop.
Fuck. Now I have to rush downstairs again.
Yeah. And so y'all will be able to, I'll be able to throw you around and y'all will show up. I kind of think it's funny. Remember, the void things are small and they're not really strong to begin with. So it's gonna be all like having this little guy around with me. You'll definitely get punted sometimes. I could be very kind and happy in their skin. I'd name it Sedimina metaphor. Sedimina minifit. Sedimina metafin. Ooh, do you want one last lore piece? No more lore for you. You've had too much lore. I fed you too much. You're gonna get fat. I don't mind you getting heavy, though.
Kowalski, think.
Only up to 3 panels. Little chubby voidling. No. No matter what, you're cute. Poppy, sweetie. That's the point of this stream. You're allowed to sleep to the stream. In fact, if you fall asleep watching me, that means I can stream as long as I want. It's perfect. I'm a little sick, but we're doing a lot better. My chuckle is not evil. It's my chuckle. I'm a good boy. I'm a sick. I like my. I just think of the Kanye West song. As much as Kanye West is not the best person, I do think it's hilarious that he bought a sample just so another musician couldn't use it, and he made the stupidest song in the entire world. Poopity shoop, shoopty poopty whoop, poopity scoop. That's the kind of petty I aspire to be. Luna, are you getting up or are you going to bed? If it's early, you're fine. Vanya, you're not allowed to explode, sorry. Get yourself, let's get it on. Okay, I need the conveyor belt running. I don't know if I need the light necessarily. I kind of like working in the dark. Nice, we're gonna do the elevator. We're gonna do that. And we're gonna do that. Yeah. By rise of your shift. Oh, good luck. Do you make a funny sound when you explode Vanya? Do you go, whee? That was my attempt at making the sound of a, party blower. I want to play 7 days. I don't want to play 7 days right now. familiar faces, worn out places, what of you? No tomorrow. Well, I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of sad. Dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. Fine, we're gonna go ride the elevator instead, I guess. Where's the elevator? Get. If I could write another to make people only kind and happy in their skin all day. Ooh, new location. That's okay, Jinxie, sweetie. Oh, you know what they call me? Big boy, boy, big boy. Do you know what's amazing? As I learn how to metal scream, not only will I metal scream, but I'll learn how to growl properly. Put the gun away. But I can't growl yet. Man, the guy I was learning metal screaming from, or growling from, was such a nice guy. He was so cool. And then I found out he was gay, and I'm like, oh, that's even cooler. Because the way I found out, I thought was really funny. Somebody's being like really, really crappy in his comments. And he's like, dude, you follow me. You know I fuck men. Ruff. I was like, hee. Gibbets is mysterious. Make people more perfect. Bodyguard and happy in their skin. And name had a sentimental. There it is. Good morning, sugar cakes. Oh, good morning, Beamy. Hi, Beamy. I didn't see you there. Thank you for the check-in. And for Silver Fang, as promised. I'm such a good donkey. Ugh. By the way, can I get a shout out for Beaming Eye Bunny? They are a fantastic ASMR artist, if that's the kind of thing you like. I still want to hear them do more SCP readings, because that was my favorite. But to be fair, I don't really have time to go buy and see people all the time. I've been able to stop in a few times, but they're fantastic asymmetricers. A mercer burst. They're not a mercy merce. Sorry, let me shut off Carmia's brain for a little while, chat. We're just gonna.
Ungrateful bastards. If not for me, they will already be dead. They aren't even in a position to negotiate. Keep them on a tight leash.
Look where that neglect got you.
If I could be. What's your favorite flower? You ready? No brain, no thoughts. You don't need to be thinking at all. What are you doing thinking? Why are you thinking? Come on. Hey. Brain go by. No brain. No need. No valleys or bumps. No ridges or lumps. Smooth. Yes, what's your favorite flower, chap?
Seems like they had it all perfectly planned.
Motherfuckers. They chose death the moment they decided to go against me.
Hey there, Delilah. What's it like in New York City? 1,000 miles away, but girl, tonight you look so pretty. Yes, you do. Da 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 da. Oh, it's watching. Don't fall out of the sky. 1 second. Okay, we're good. Well, all of you are wrong. It's the poppy. I'm kidding, but no, I like poppies a lot. Hydrangeas are nice. Baby breath. Oh, I love baby breath and lily of the valley. Both of those are really beautiful. See, I never knew about Poppy's meaning. Or the playtime that was involved with it. Sorry, I just imagined Nap flying a plane, hearing me grumble, and just immediately like nosediving into the ground, and I just thought it was so funny. No, nosediving into the ground was funny, by the way. Just the idea of. So what was that? You said, no what? Good morning, Medicus. That's not what I need. This mess looks very difficult. It's time to get to the big guns. Whoosh. Oh, get nice and eepy for me. I believe in you. You can eep. Get eepy. Why don't you want to get eepy? Just be eepy. Eat Maxon. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, you know what this needs? Since there's nothing really here to worry about breaking. You will not stay alive. You have upset my father. I will destroy you and your clan. Anyways. I love what they call cultivation slop. It's one of my favorite webcomic genre. It's all about, you know, people working on building up their power through like kung fu and stuff. It's ideal. There we go, nice and clean. Mm-hmm. There we go. You have backup headphones. Do you have them just for me? That's me beatboxing. That's right, everybody. You better keep backup headphones just in case your headphones die. Of me beating boxes. Vibes, vibes. Okay. Yeah, if your phone is low, if you haven't taken your meds yet. By the way, take your meds, eat some breakfast, eat some dinner if you haven't. Get yourself in a comfy position. Make sure everything is what you need right now, okay? Yeah, you're gonna miss out the important plot of what did Jean break this time? Did Jean get lost? No, that's fair. Let's go gambling. I believe in you. You got this. Don't let me down. Remember, losing is letting me down again. Go get some breakfast if you need. Remember, you can take me with you. This is the best part about this stream. You can put it wherever you want. Have me in any room of your house. Yes, you can rub my ears for good luck. Oh, I still need to finish that thing, by the way. I'm trying to figure out if I want to end that TikTok on a cute note or if on a funny, goofy note. I think I might be like, yeah, you just kind of fell when you were trying to run away. I brought you back here, but I'm going to let you just lay here in bed till you feel better, and then it's back in the cage, okay? We'll see. Tacos, I am proud of you.
Can't pick up anything with a full bag.
I might do that. That'd be fun. I think I'm going to do a thing where it's going to be like, honestly, you're lucky you tripped there, because if you'd gone a little bit further, you would have hit the hole. Y'all really think I'd take you out to the woods and not make sure the woods were trapped? Exactly. It wasn't 7 Days to Die. It was, what was that game that we were playing? Zoo something? Zork? That was so goofy. I immediately fell in the hole, and then they refused to revive me because they're like, oh yeah, Gene's fine. Yeah, he just kind of runs up at monsters sometimes and slides, tackles them. Why wouldn't he do that? Hello, Valley. Like my chuckle. Glad to hear, glad to hear. Twerk for dominance. Twerk on those villains for dominance. Hi, Ocean. Ocean, I hope you know I always appreciate when I see your after-stream messages. I see them so often. No, I am the one. Don't need a gun to get respect upon these streets. Enjoy your studying. Right. Oh, ad starts at about 5 minutes, but if you've noticed, y'all, I've done the shorter ads because sometimes I miss the ads. Are y'all okay with like a 30-second ad every like 10 to 15 minutes? If I could completely get rid of them, you know I would. I know a lot of you are. Oh, Anastasia, did you do a clip of my stream? You're currently the #1 clipper. I'll have to go check out your clip later. That's so cool. I love getting to see when I find out people secretly took clips of my stream and then they are #1. They are #1. Do 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 do. Thank you for the check-in. I am gonna make a clip command, but it will mean that if you use the clip command, it won't tell you what ranking you are. Thank you for the follow. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Welcome to the menagerie, zombie beef. Or zombie elf. Zombie elf. That's not zombie beef. Zombie beef. Delicious. Reading is hard, especially when I can't see the whole word without turning fully. Magic. That is so satisfying. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Enjoy your shower, Stinky. Please go back, Bonnie. I'll miss you too much. You're not allowed to leave for too long. Also, you're a mod. I need you. The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. We need to figure out those things. What are those called again? Kamiya, you know what those are called, right? Like call and answer or something? Call and response, yeah. I need to think of some for all of y'all. Something to do with voidlings. Maybe I should get a Voidling salute emote and just be like, Voidlings at the ready. And have you all salute. Should we have a contest? Oh, cheers. There's hydration, it just might be used up. Voidlings can't speak at first. But we did actually talk about that. I just can't remember what the noise was. That's why Voidlings don't have mouths to start. Should we have a contest? What if we have a contest for people to decide what some call and responses? Oh, they do make noises. They do make noises. They just can't speak. Oh, my hydration is limited. You can only do it every 10 minutes. Thank you for the hydration. The reason why hydration is so cheap is that I actually forget to drink water sometimes. Do you want to come up with some, dwarf? Okay, you know what? We'll make a contest out of it. I'll probably need about 5. Because I want something that'll get people's attention. I want something that people can respond to. And if it's an emote, you do have to drink water. And then that can be a thing too. Something dark side. All right. But what is the prize for winning? Or is recognition enough of a prize? You know what? Maybe I'll have you permanently featured in one of the rooms as well. We'll have like a wall of acknowledgement. And money. Maybe we can also do money. Hoshi. Hello, Hoshi. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I broke my scene. Give me a second while I fix this. We'll just do this scene instead. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, a writer, and soon-to-be villain. So welcome, welcome, welcome all of you. How was your stream? Can we get a shout-out for the lovely Hoshi? No, she's absolutely amazing. They're fantastic. They're very, very wonderful, and you should most definitely check them out if you haven't already. I'm still a little sick, but I'm doing pretty well. Here, we'll go to the bedroom real quick. Aye. Morning, morning, morning. I hope you feel much better. Thank you. Thank you. I hope I feel better soon, too. Unfortunately, I'm only taking the one day off work yesterday, so even though I'm feeling a little ill, I'll be okay. Being sick is the worst. How are you feeling, though? I remember last time you were a little sick. Also, if you need a raid and run, feel free to do so. I hope your stream went amazing. You know, I always appreciate seeing you. If you need to raid and run, feel free to do so. If you want to hang out, you can do that as well. We're just cleaning up crimes today. What's up, Lucy? Yes. Oh, yeah? And you can do what I do. The glass wipes the voidlings. What do you mean the chat box is missing? What do you mean glass wipes? Thank you for the like, Mia. Oh, wait a second. Here we go. This is what I need to do. Yay.
Managed to connect the faintest of threads. I wonder if he told anybody about it.
If he had, I would have known about it by now. But still, this place is bugged. Too many people snooping around.
Oh, no, you just speak soft. Oh, your voice is fine for it. You just get closer to the mic, and you whisper. You can get really close and say things like this. Need for the follow? Oh, don't worry. I keep those up next to my bed. Oh, you have a lovely voice. I enjoy your voice. Of course, some of my voidlings use glasses. Wait, what do you mean like this sound? Yeah, no, if you talk farther away from the mic, you're fine. But if you get closer to the mic, it sounds a little bit more intimate. I'm glad I could teach you something. I cry. I spill my bucket and I cry. Yes, actually, you do. This is crime scene cleaner. How do I get chat visible and stream with OBS? Oh, that's easy. Stream elements. I just use stream elements, and I make an overlay there. Hoshi, if you have any questions like about the way I do ASMR, let me know. If you're wanting to do like a biannular 3D audio thing, I'm not really big on doing that, but I can help you with that. Oh, I'm sorry, Lucy. Hope you feel better soon. Oh, honey. I am always here to answer any question anyone has, especially about content creation. I do not gatekeep. I want you all to be able to make amazing content because then I get to see more amazing content. So always, always, always feel free to ask me anything. Anything at all. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. Oh, I do gaslight and I 100% girl boss. Actually, I do girl keep though. I occasionally gas boss. And I most definitely gate light. Oh, I gate light all the time. Mm-hmm. Hey, lovelies, all of you amazing little voidlings. You're doing incredible right now. I know it can be hard sometimes to see it. It's such a struggle, but you are doing amazing, and I am proud of all of you. You got this. Just take it one step at a time. You don't have to do it perfect. You don't have to do it great even. But just do it for now. You can always make everything better later, I promise. No one will judge you for that. Keep going. How's that work? Is that good, Lucy?
Time for a bag swap.
Do I mansplain? I do occasionally mansplain unintentionally. I am neurodivergent, so... I should do a weekly TikTok about, making everybody feel a little bit better. You can Photoshop anything you want nap time. True. Do I like about this game that I didn't like about the pressure washer simulator? That there's only like spaces to clean. It's not the entire place. So it doesn't feel like endless and daunting. Morning, Chrissy. Running good. Thank you for the follow and welcome to the menagerie. Running good and skin. Oh, that's not good. Do you think that was intentional or if that was a rendering error? Oops. Look at you twerking it. I have a cool, deep voice. Thank you. I appreciate your acknowledgement. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I like my voice. To an extent. I do have an issue with my voice sometimes, but that is my own personal gripes. I think that's something that people need to realize is nobody's fully happy with their voice. Not even I. It matches my avatar. I don't know if it does. I think that if a voice is done well enough, any voice can match anything. Oh, I've been looking for that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any voice can match any model, I'll put it that way. Because eventually it just becomes, the style. If somebody were to do like a masculine or do a effeminate ooh-woo voice the whole time, but a really muscular model, it'd be like the bit. There we go. I'm still getting... I get called a femboy. Hello, Vinny. How you doing? I think you'll just think femboy is funny. I call my friends gay boy. I exclusively call my heterosexual friends gay boy, though. You should. I would have thought it was funny. Feel free to tag me in places, especially if they may remind you of me. I don't really have many friends, actually, but I used to. I still think of them as my friends, I just don't see them anymore. I have a few friends that I deal with outside of streaming. Oh, well, we're coming to an end soon, Nix. Sorry, sweetie. I have work soon. Y'all have a good one. Hello, Nomley. Yeah. One day I won't be working, and then I'll be streaming a lot longer. I think the goal will be for at least 4 hours on my morning streams. And then a 4-hour evening stream. Maybe only 3 hours. We'll see how the energy holds up. Or we'll do a 4-hour morning stream, a 2-hour evening stream, because that's the high energy one. And then we'll do like a 2-hour story reading stream at night. Hi, Nomley. Well, I hope we have good vibes here for you. It might be coconut oil. But that'll only be at a certain level of the fundraiser, by the way. So, fundraiser first. Then we'll have regular story times. I'm your idol. Well, I appreciate it. That's fair. That's very fair. I get it. I get it. Sometimes the bodies just won't hit the floor like they're supposed to. Even though we let them. I have not seen K-pop Demon Hunters. Everybody keeps saying, Gene, you need to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. Oh my, both ears now. Woof woof. Thank you for the head pats. Always, always appreciated. That's one area done. Oh, I hope not. Hope you get some sleep.
Facing the man above. He must have been the one who shot him.
Remember, chat, do hide the bodies. It's very important. Actually, that does happen in the book, by the way. The story with the voidlings and everything. The voidlings do eat somebody eventually. Nope, I refuse to listen to any of the music. I have not heard a single one of the songs until, you know. It has big lore implications. No, Jibbitz is also a voidling. You can't eat them. But don't worry, it does a really cool thing. There's a purpose behind them being eaten. No, I don't get impregned. And so a little reminder that there will be a separation between Gene, the character, and Gene, the content creator. All of my streams currently have been Gene, the content creator. But there will be a very cool thing we'll do with Gene, the character, and we'll do lore streams and everything. No cannibalism. Don't eat Ico. No cannibalism. Aww. Me when there's no cannibalism.
An explosion, along with all the electricity.
I want to see what happens to the body. Oh, I mean, you don't need to have any lore. You don't need to have any lore at all. It's fine. That's fair. Yep, my next stream will be at 4 p.m. MST. We stream twice a day every day. Could we get a schedule redeem? Exclamation point JS, please. There we go. So there's my schedule. Everybody, make sure don't bonk me. How dare you? Get some food. Get some vibes. Thank you all for coming by. Again, Hoshi, thank you for the raid. Everyone else, I hope you have a lovely, lovely, lovely day. I do apologize that stream kind of crashed earlier. Not my fault, though I will take the blame for it. And we're going to find something to raid into real quick. Let's see, who do we have? Oh, none of my ASM artists are on today. Dang, I guess shrimps? Okay, I'm gonna take a look at these two ASM artists, but if they're too traditional, we ain't going with it. That's just titties. Okay, well, I guess we'll rate shrimps. Y'all okay with rating shrimps today? Just say hi to the shrimps. Thank you, Ocean. Alright, we'll do a little raid. Let's go. Hello, shrimpies. And there's the raid message. Alright, I'll see y'all later today. Not sure what we're going to be playing later, but it's going to be a lot more energetic. Bye for now. Y'all be as amazing as I know you always are. Mwah. Miss you.